Speaking of remakes, this brings us to our next topic. Why are studios clinging to remaking old franchises rather than developing original concepts into film? I think it's very simple. It's a very simple reason for why they're doing it. They see, okay, well, let's remake a movie that people know the name,
right?
People can get comfortable behind it, and they'll pay to see it, right? So you thought. There's a couple remakes that have flopped extremely hard at the box office. You know, one of them off the top of my head is the Ghostbusters remake.
Right.
That pissed me off. Don't touch Ghostbusters. Right? It was made however many years ago. I honestly think that could be a timeless film. Don't touch the Ghostbusters. Leave it as it is. Right? And what did? They decided to remake it, and it was dog shit. That off the top of my head, that's one of the remakes that I did not like.
That's just how studios are operating nowadays. They're just doing what's comfortable or what the audience is comfortable with, as you said.
It's such a
and they're just relying
cop-out.
on the paycheck. It's a cop out.
It's such a cop-out.
So now I have a whole chart here from Box Office Mojo. It's 2019 worldwide box office.
Okay.
It's the top 10 gross films.
Right.
So
This is for last year.
this is for 2019.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go 1 to 10.
Got it.
1, Avengers Endgame. 2, The Lion King. 3, Frozen 2. 4, Spider-Man Far From Home. 5, Captain Marvel. 6, Joker. 7, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. 8, Toy Story 4. 9, Aladdin. 10, Jumanji, Next Level. What do you see that is a complete common element within these top 10 grossed films?
Sequels.
Yep.
And remakes.
Yep.
Live action remakes of because the Disney ones that are in there.
But it's all the big studios that are just
Right.
shelling out the money because they know that the return that they're going to get. Which again, we've said it in the past. Like, it's not. Obviously, I would do it.
Well, yeah.
You know, money looks good, but at the same time, it's like, you know, how far are you going to push some of this stuff?
Right.
You know, like Toy Story 4. I don't know. I think
I
we
saw
talked about it a little bit.
Toy Story 4, and it just doesn't live up to the first 3. I think they should have stopped, in my personal opinion. It was good, but it wasn't anything like gripping.
Right.
You know, like Toy Story 3 actually made me cry a little bit. Toy Story 4.
Because it was supposed to be the end of a legendary series that they had going on, a trilogy.
It perfectly. Why continue it on? But whatever the case may be, it made a lot of money at the box office. Studios happy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 10 top films are Disney or owned by Disney.
Right.
And I didn't include Far From Home because I'm pretty sure Sony.
It's Sony. Yeah, it's Sony. Crazy.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
That's insane. Bonkers, if you ask
So
me.
let's go here. I'm going to try to find one that's like their original. 1917
yeah.
at 23.
Mm-hmm.
24 is Once Upon a Time.
That's an original.
That's an original. 28 is Knives Out.
That's an
30 is
original.
Parasite.
Mhm.
31 is Us. 34 is Glass, which is
Sequel.
branched. Yeah, it's a sequel. Ford vs. Ferrari. 38. So I mean, but that's going down really far.
Right, but not they don't break top 10.
Right.
So obviously, studio sees a formula. Sequels and remakes are
Let's-
obviously cleaning house.
Okay.
Top 10.
Let's see.
Making money.
So the top 5 was Captain Marvel.
Trash movie, but whatever.
Worldwide, it made $1.1 billion. Now I'm going to look up Inception. Inception made worldwide $831 million.
That's marginally less.
Yeah.
That's a joke. If you've and I kind of ranted about this last night in our friend group chat about Captain Marvel. I won't get into it. I wasn't a fan of Captain Marvel. I'll be completely honest. And if you try and sit there and tell me that Captain Marvel is a better film than Inception, I think I might roundhouse kick you in the jaw.
I mean, you definitely can't compare the two.
You can't
if
compare
you just
the
look
two,
at the
but-
numbers,
But why is it that a movie like Captain Marvel is going to make more money than a movie like Inception? Right?
because it's attached to
Marvel.
Yeah.
And that, but still though.
But just look at the value of the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't even fucking compare.
No, not at all.
Not even close. Let's see, like, where it would stand. Like, what is at where Inception was. So, Inception, if it came out in 2019 and made the same numbers, it would be top 10
Right.
in 2019.
Right.
which isn't terrible.
Not at all.
But that's 1 out of 10 films. That's the original movie.
Right.
You know, I
No,
see
I
something
agree.
wrong with that. It's just like, it's the same freaking formula.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see it anymore.
Well, yeah,
It's at a time where change it up.
and we've talked about it too on a previous episode, where it's just like this oversaturated formula, and how it's like, you know, it feels almost processed, and like it's kind of
Process. That's a great word.
shoved down your throat kind of thing. You know, but it's just like, okay, so like those are sequels and remakes. They did extremely well. Avengers Endgame was fucking incredible.
Right.
I saw Lion King. I actually did really enjoy it. The first one still holds a special place in my heart.
Right.
Can't be beat. Aladdin was actually very good. But there's movies that just don't have any business being remade.
Okay, so look at Star Wars.
Right.
Look at what they're doing with Indiana Jones, with Blade Runner,
Right.
Rocky with Creed.
Sequels, though.
Yeah, they're sequels, but it's just like extensions of, you know, original movies.
Yeah.
It's just how far can you really take it? It's like watching any type of TV series out there. Like,
Right.
you know, it's at a point where you gotta leave off the fans and the audiences that, you know, fell in love with these characters and these worlds.
Right.
Like, leave them off with wanting more to taste. Like, when you just
Yeah.
keep feeding them, they're not gonna want any more. Like, how far can you really take all this
And you know
shit?
who I blame for all this?
Who?
Marvel. Right? Because Marvel kind of started this whole world building, this universe
Right.
type, like the Marvel verse and shit like that.
Right.
Right? So branched off from that, Star Wars starts a new trilogy. And they're branching off into new trilogies. So now you have a Star Wars universe. If you look at Spider-Man, right? Into the Spider-Verse, right? Now there's a Spider-Verse and stuff like that. And they're going to branch off into that. Apparently Venom and stuff, like the new Venom, is going to touch on the multiverse and stuff and whatnot. Indiana Jones, right? That's going to be continued on. That's going to be a universe of its own. You can call it the Jonesyverse or something like that.
Right.
Rocky now has its own fucking thing, right? So you have Rocky Balboa and his 6 movies. Now you have Creed. I'm sure they're going to make another Creed. There's going to be 3 of them. And then I think they're thinking about doing a Drago spin-off. So now you have a Rocky verse. It's like this crazy, like, just like, oh, let's branch it off this way. Let's branch it off that way kind of thing. You know, it's just like, and I blame Marvel. Because with their first phase, they had your flagship Avengers, Captain America, your Iron Man, your Hulk, that kind of thing. And then it went into Guardians of the Galaxy. And then it went into Black Panther. And then it went into all these other movies, Doctor Strange. And now they come in. Right? And then you have your second Avengers, your Civil War, and then you got your Avengers Infinity War, yada, yada, yada. It's just this crazy. And I blame, it's Marvel's fault. Because they did their world building, very successful at it. I was very entertained by a lot of the spin-off films and stuff like that. But it's Marvel's fault.
But that's also the thing that made Marvel.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's the thing that made Marvel Studios, in my opinion, was because it intertwines all these, you know, solo movies and these team-up movies, and it was just awesome to see in a cinematic event or a cinematic experience.
Right.
But I know what you mean, though. They started off, so everybody's going to follow the trend and continue on with it.
Obviously, sequels will keep making money because, you know, if you love the first one and they make a second one, you're obviously going to see it if you're a fan of the first. So that's my 2 cents on remakes.
Yeah, the thing is, too, is with remakes, like, you know, we're looking at it as in a negative way.
Right.
But think about the positives, too, of it. Right? So now we can look at Batman or Joker. You can see how there's just different perspectives. There's different styles that are created within one character, which is very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why, like, you'll go see the Joker. That's why you'll go see Robert Pattinson's Joker. Or, Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Right.
You know, just different adaptations of the character, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. You know, but I think, like, certain things can work, right? Like, when it comes to superheroes, like, superheroes have been around for a long time. You know, just starting off with comics. They've been around for a long time. There's a bunch of different reiterations of characters within comics, you know, and I think the translation to film, I think it works, right? Like, you can do different iterations of Batman and Superman and all that kind of stuff, and people will still pay to see it, right? Just like if they did a different iteration in the comics, people would pay to buy and read those comics. It's kind of like the same thing, almost, in my opinion.
So, I'm on beta.cafemom.com.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck this is. but it's listed like 22 remakes that basically bombed, and RoboCop, the recent one, whenever that came out.
Yeah.
And the budget was 100 mil and domestically earned 58.6 million. And it says fingers were pointed when it came time to take the blame for the film's failure. And it was the director said, "I didn't have the creative freedom I needed. I spent 90% of the time fighting."
Yeah.
It made me realize that making a studio movie is not the same as making a film. I will make $1 million. I'll make 1 million times. I will think 1 million times before getting involved in another production of that size again.
Right.
And that's interesting too, with studios remaking and just having so much influence on franchises, is that it takes away from the filmmaker's vision.
Right.
We've talked about it a lot, but there's just so many hands in the mud with you, and it's at a point like, do you really? Mm-hmm. Would you really want to pursue something as a filmmaker, as an artist,
right,
when your name is the director? Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be your film, but the
best analogy I can make for that, it's like, let's say the studio is one of your friends, right, and that friend is loaning you $100, right, and you're going to use that $100, but me, if I'm loaning you $100, I'm going to be like, okay, like $100 is a decent amount of money. Like, I'm going to feel a little antsy about it. And if I find out you're spending that $100 on like hookers and shit, like, I'm going to be pissed. So the studio, when they have $100 million budget and the director is making that film, it's like, okay, you're using our money, but we should have a say, kind of thing.
Right.
Instead of trusting the creator, they're like, okay, we're going to have some hands on this because this is a lot of fucking money. You know what I mean? So that's where you run into creative differences when it comes to big studio productions.
Right.
It's a lot of money that you're playing around with. And they want to make sure you're not going to fuck it up. But I'd say probably 80% of the time, the studio's the one responsible for fucking the film up. Trust your creators, guys. Trust your creators.
If you have a filmmaker like Scorsese, Tarantino, they have a very specific vision.
Right.
From the start of it, in Tarantino's case, just as a writer-director, he has a specific vision from that blank page.
Right.
Since page one. You know what I mean? Like, you got to trust that, because no one will believe in that project more than that.
Yeah.
Than that director.
Absolutely.